Hi everyone, my name is Sadia, and for my final project, I chose the media analysis option. Today I'll be analyzing romantic relationships in the TV series Sex and the City, focusing mainly on Carrie Bradshaw and Mr. Big, but also examining Charlotte, Miranda, and Samantha's relationship patterns and how they reflect broader gender norms. On the second slide, you'll see the sources and the books that I used. Sex and the City is widely known as a feminist milestone in television, but when we take a sociological lens, we see contradictions. The show promotes sexual freedom and independence for women, yet it also reinforces traditional gender expectations, whiteness, class privilege, and heteronormativity. These four characters represent different cultural scripts about what love and relationships should look like for women, shaped by broader social structures rather than personal preference. According to a Cass and McCabe's analysis in Reading Sex and the City 2004, the show operated within what they call a post-feminist fantasy space, where women appear empowered, but their empowerment is continually tied to consumption, desirability, and romantic success. This helps explain why the series both celebrates women's autonomy and simultaneously illustrates that emotional fulfillment is found in heterosexual relationships with wealthy or socially powerful men. In a University Press source written by Diane Negra, Negra accused the post-feminist media presents women as empowered, but only in very narrow and consumer-driven ways. In her framework, empowerment is not about political change, economic equality, or dismantling patriarchy. Instead, it is framed through individual choice, beauty, work, consumerism, and successful heterosexual coupling. In Sex and the City, this is extremely visible, as the four main characters are portrayed as independent, sexually liberated women living in New York City, but their emotional arcs consistently reinforce traditional femininity. Carrie's empowerment comes through fashion, shopping, and her desirability, not through real financial stability or emotional autonomy. Charlotte's happy ending is marriage and motherhood, reinforcing the idea that fulfillment is ultimately domestic. Miranda's career success is often framed as burden that makes romance more difficult, suggesting that professional ambition conflicts with femininity. Samantha's sexual freedom is celebrated, but she is still eventually pushed towards a more conventional relationship with her partner, Smith. Negra argues that this pattern is a hallmark of post-feminist media. Women appear to have choices, but their choices are limited to those that maintain traditional gender norms. This is especially clear in Carrie's storylines. Even though she is financially independent, has a career, and lives alone, the show repeatedly positions her life as incomplete without Big or another male partner. When she's single, the narrative centers loneliness, heartbreak, and self-blame, reinforcing the cultural message that women are ultimately validated through romantic success. Negra calls this recentering of romance as women's primary life goal. In Sex and the City, romance becomes both the reward and the benchmark of a woman's worth, overshadowing career accomplishments, friendships, or personal growth. Additionally, consumerism is portrayed as a substitute for structural empowerment. Carrie can't afford rent but spends thousands of dollars on shoes, and the show frames this as confidence, self-expression, or even self-care. According to Negra, this is a defining feature of post-feminist media. Personal consumption is used to mask systematic gender inequalities. So while the show appears feminist because it highlights female sexuality and freedom, Negra's argument helps us see that it also subtly reinforces the same patriarchal structures it seems to challenge, by making empowerment depend on beauty, desirability, wealth, and romantic validation rather than collective or structural change. Throughout the show, we get to meet Carrie's three major partners, Big, Aiden, and Alexander. Each represent a different cultural narrative about what women are taught to desire in romantic relationships. Instead of simply showing three individual men, the show uses these relationships to explore broader social expectations around gender, class, and modern love. Mr. Big, the power, class, and capitalist of romance. Big is the embodiment of upper-class masculinity, wealthy, charming, emotionally unavailable, and extremely powerful within New York society. His presence turns the relationship into a kind of emotional roller coaster, where Carrie is constantly seeking validation from someone who holds more social and economic power than she does. Eva Ilou explains that under capitalism, modern romance becomes tied to aspiration, luxury, and class performance, meaning love is increasingly connected to the consumer setting and emotional inequality. In this sense, Big isn't just a partner, he's a symbol of romantic success as defined by consumer culture. Their relationship takes place in limos, exclusive restaurants, and penthouse apartments, reinforcing the idea that love is a luxury product rather than a partnership. Because Big is so emotionally distant, Carrie becomes anxious, insecure, and dependent, illustrating how power imbalances in class often create emotional imbalances in a romance. Big represents a cultural fantasy. Women are encouraged to chase emotionally unavailable, powerful men because their approval holds social value. Carrie's next partner is Aiden. With Aiden comes stability and the good man narrative. Aiden represents the opposite romantic script, the warm, supportive, emotionally available good guy. He symbolizes stability, commitment, and the traditional path towards marriage and a family life. Yet Carrie still feels suffocated. This tension reflects a real sociological contradiction. Women are taught to value independence and career success, but are still expected to desire traditional domestic arrangements. Carrie's discomfort with Aiden isn't irrational. It reflects the conflict between modern feminist identity and traditional gender expectations. Her cheating on Aiden throughout the show and rejecting his proposal highlights the pressure women face to want stability even when it doesn't align with their sense of self. The show subtly critiques the idea that settling down is supposed to be every woman's happy ending. Carrie's third partner is Alexander Petrovsky. With him comes age, cultural capital, and gendered sacrifice. Alexander represents yet another cultural script, the older, worldly, sophisticated man with significant cultural capital. He is successful, connected, respected, and lives an elite lifestyle rooted in European artistic masculinity. With him, Carrie becomes a spectator in her own life. She isolates herself, changes her routine, and even abandons her friendships, reinforcing a pattern where women are expected to accommodate men's careers, schedules, and social circles. That can be seen when Carrie gets up all of a sudden and decides to maybe move to Paris. Akasa McCabe described this pattern as a hallmark of post-feminist media. Women appear empowered, but still adjust themselves to male authority structures. Petrovsky embodies this. He expects Carrie to adapt entirely to his world, not the other way around. His storyline shows how his class, age, and patriarchal dominance shape romantic power dynamics, and how women's independence can be undermined when entering relationships with men who possess disproportionate social power. Together, Big, Aiden, and Alexander aren't just characters. They represent competing cultural expectations about femininity, romance, and female identity. Carrie's struggle to fit into any of these roles exposes the contradictions of modern womanhood, the desire for independence, the pressure for emotional fulfillment, and the cultural script that romantic partnership defines a woman's value. The next couple slides are 3 women highlighting additional romantic narratives and gender expectations. The first one we're going to start with is Charlotte. She represents traditional femininity and class privilege. She represents the most traditional heterosexual romantic script: marriage, children, and a perfect home. Her relationships are shaped by class privilege, beauty norms, and white femininity, reinforcing the idea that a woman's ultimate success lies in securing a stable, affluent husband. Even though Charlotte claims to want love, her criteria are rooted in social expectations: prestige, wealth, and social status. Her eventual marriage to Harry reflects a slight disruption of the script, but still aligns with the message that fulfillment equals marriage. Miranda challenges the stereotype that career-focused women are cold or unlovable, yet the show continually suggests that her ambition is a barrier to relationship happiness. Her relationship with Steve highlights issues of class inequality and gender role reversal. She earns more, she's more educated, and she has more social mobility. Research shows heterosexual couples often experience conflict when women out-earn their male partners, and Miranda's storyline reflects this social reality. Miranda challenges the norms, but the show still presses her towards compromise in traditional partnership. The last woman is Samantha. With Samantha comes sexual autonomy and its limits. Samantha rejects nearly all traditional expectations. She embraces casual sex, rejects monogamy, and prioritizes personal pleasure. She represents a radical departure from patriarchal norms, but the show still reinscribes convention when she eventually enters a relationship with Smith. This reflects what Akasa McCabe called post-feminist containment, where seemingly liberated women are still guided back towards traditional romance. What the show gets right and what it gets wrong. What it gets right is women's sexual agency. The show normalizes women enjoying sex on their own terms. The female friendship as emotional support aspect is when friendship is the most stable relationship in the show. Dating pressures and contradictions, the series accurately portrays modern dating stress, mixed signals, emotional labor, and gender expectations. What it reinforces: heteronormativity. Nearly all relationships are heterosexual, positioning straight romance as the norm. Whiteness and wealth. The show centers affluent white femininity as universal and aspirational, and marriage and partnership as the ultimate finish line. Despite independence, happiness is always shown through romantic success. While marketed as feminist, the show ultimately upholds many patriarchal and capitalist ideals. The connection to theory and reading Sex and the City is highlighting the contradictions, arguing that the show is simultaneously feminist, and in its portrayal of sexual freedom and friendship, there's still yet a conservative in its reinforcement of marriage and romantic dependency as end goals. Through the series, we learn that love is not simply emotional or personal, it's shaped by social forces. Each partner represents a different version of the ideal man society tells women they should want, and each demands a different version of femininity from the women characters. This makes Sex and the City an important sociological case study because it shows how deeply gender norms and cultural expectations continue to influence relationships.